The Three Lakes system is at the heart of the Colorado-Big Thompson Project. These lakes and reservoirs are important to Grand County and to Colorado for recreation, communities, and a working water supply system.
The Colorado-Big Thompson Project is a significant water supply project for the northern Colorado area on both sides of the divide. It provides water for agricultural, municipal, and industrial uses, as well as hydropower generation and recreation and environmental benefits. So the health of these lakes is really vital to all of those uses.
So protecting these assets is very important, and northern water is heavily engaged with the Westfield partners with that understanding that we need to work together to protect these important values from a water movement standpoint and from an environmental and recreational standpoint.
As everybody's come together and worked harder together, there's been a lot with the different groups coming in and working on the operations to understand what to do to improve the water quality and clarity. And I do believe that, that you have the best scientists, engineers working on this.
When we talk about the Three Lakes system, what we mean is Granby Reservoir, Shadow Mountain Reservoir, and Grand Lake, and that complex of the three water bodies together, and the three water bodies are interconnected. Over the years, the partners have developed collaborative framework to make progress on advancing water quality and clarity in Grand Lake and the Three Lakes system.
We do think that adaptive management to optimize clarity in Grand Lake and water quality in Shadow Mountain Reservoir has really made a difference.
This more intentional attention to operations and the resulting clarity and water quality in the system has been beneficial in terms of leading to better results.
One effort that we've been focused on is how to improve water clarity in Grand Lake, which is Colorado's largest and deepest natural lake.
Grand Lake is a very important asset to Grand County that long predates the construction of the Colorado-Big Thompson Project. It carries economic and cultural significance. There are a number of commitments that Northern Water and the municipal subdistrict have made that go back many decades. Notably, in 2016, the parties entered into an agreement to implement an adaptive management framework that would seek to improve clarity in Grand Lake while maintaining and protecting key aspects of the Colorado-Big Thompson Project operations. The goal is to obtain between July 1st and September 11th an average of 3.8 meters of clarity in Grand Lake, and to never drop below 2.5 meters at any point in time during that season.
We generally approach that operationally, which means that we move water in a way that is least disruptive to water clarity and the public enjoyment of Grand Lake.
The Colorado-Big Thompson Project is co-operated by the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation and Northern Water. Through this collaboration and alongside local partners, we use operational planning, modeling, monitoring, and scenario evaluation to protect water deliveries while improving conditions.
The GCWIN team is on Shadow Mountain and Grand Lake every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we are collecting depth measurements for lake clarity. And that helps with operations of when to pump, how much is pumping, how's the lake looking for recreation use, and just bigger picture, make sure that we're trying to keep this natural area as beautiful as we can.
So from 2005 to 2015, Grand Lake clarity exceeded the average goal qualifier of 3.8 meters, only 27% of the time. But since the implementation of adaptive management in 2016, it's been met in 60% of years. Even better, after implementation of adaptive management, the minimum clarity goal qualifier of 2.5 meters has been met or exceeded in 80% of years, compared to only 36% of years prior.
The water moves in complex patterns around the system. These movements of water are really important to understand when we seek to understand the water quality processes in the system. When the runoff starts, when snow melts between April and July, water comes into the system and is stored in Granby Reservoir. Granby acts as a multi-year storage vessel, and when the flows start tapering off into the system as snow melt decreases and the demands pick up on the Front Range, the flows in the system get reversed. Typically, it starts early July, and pumping from Granby becomes necessary. And at that point, water flows from Granby to Shadow Mountain Reservoir and then to Grand Lake to make its way to the Front Range via the Adams Tunnel that goes under Rocky Mountain National Park. As water moves from Granby to Shadow Mountain Reservoir, the clarity of that water can change. Shadow Mountain Reservoir is a shallow reservoir in which suspension of sediment can easily occur when you're moving water through it. And certain times of the year, algae growth can happen and the water eventually enters Grand Lake. It can adversely affect the quality of the water in Grand Lake and its clarity.
Operationally, we try to maximize early summer settling periods right after spring runoff ends. And then we balance that with the risks of warming up the lake as the summer heats up. So basically, when water temperatures rise, the lakes become more prone to algae growth. We then work to keep Shadow Mountain Reservoir water cooler. Those steps are designed to reduce the algae growth in the lakes, particularly when we're moving water into Grand Lake as that CBT water moves towards the west portal of the Adams Tunnel.
In parallel to the adaptive management framework that was developed in 2016, there are a lot of other efforts that are taking place around the watersheds as well.
Three Lakes Technical Committee includes the parties that are involved in Grand Lake Adaptive Management, but it also includes a wider range of local and federal and nonprofit entities. It provides a consistent cadence for meeting and discussing topics related to Three Lakes water quality, including monitoring, investigation into potential pilot projects or new research.
I think we've been attending the Three Lake Technical Committee meetings for 15, 16 years now, and fully understand the system and what the system has to be able to do.
The entities use data from a variety of different sources, including from Grand County Water Information Network, or GCWIN, as well as other water quality and operational data from Northern Water and the USGS and other agencies.
Watershed interventions and watershed managements are also part of the initiatives. What happens in the watershed is very important to protect the water quality of receiving downstream water bodies. There are 700,000 acres of watersheds that are upstream of the Three Lakes that have an influence in the kind of water quality that we see in the systems. So we're looking at initiatives such as the Kawanichi Restoration Collaborative, the North Fork of the Colorado River, which flows through the Kawanichi Valley, is the largest contributor of sediment into the Three Lakes system, and therefore it has been identified as an area where it would make sense to look at the health of the watershed. We are also very focused on post-fire watershed restoration work.
The East Troublesome Fire in 2020 was a catastrophic wildfire that created a significant amount of debris and silt and runoff that went right into Lake Granby and Shadow Mountain Reservoir. We were lucky to have partners like Northern Water that we could start working aggressively to try to find ways to maintain the clarity of the lakes, especially in Grand Lake, to make sure that we were not allowing the silt to build up into these systems.
As we continue to see the impacts of the East Troublesome Fire and the added nutrients, we do weekly monitoring for any potential blooms that could impact wildlife, recreation use.
Forest health management in these watersheds in a preventive way. We don't want another East Troublesome Fire happening in the system with similar or worse consequences.
trying to address these issues and evaluate the potential for us to do really effective fuels reduction work surrounding the Three Lakes system. We also work closely with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife to monitor and check all boats going in and out of the lake systems. All boats going in and out of our boat ramps are inspected by ANS inspectors, by CPW.
We are also in the early stages of collaborating on a project with multiple partners to study the effects of the non-native mysis shrimp and the effects they might have on water clarity. We believe that a better understanding of that species population and its relationships to the aquatic system may lead to a plan that could improve the clarity of Grand Lake.
This work matters because the Colorado-Big Thompson Project is a major regional water supply, and protecting it means protecting both the water we deliver and the watersheds and lakes and reservoirs that make the system function. Everything we're doing here is directly tied to how the CBT project operates day to day, moving water, meeting delivery needs, and managing the system responsibly.
I think we're getting there, we're getting better, and I think it's incumbent upon everybody involved to preserve and to constantly make the environment and the water better and clearer.
The water quality of these lakes is important for drinking, growing crops, industry, recreation, and supporting healthy populations of fish and wildlife. And all of that, of course, contributes to our way of life in Colorado and the West.